We're sitting with Albay Governor Joey Salceda, who's recognized as one of the disaster risk reduction, climate change adaptation experts in the Philippines. Governor Salceda,
Yes.
looking at how the Philippines has handled this so far, how would you assess the response?
I think may kulang, pero right direction. I think we have the ability as well as, I think, institutional predisposition to do it, as well as we have a very viable international ecosystem. So I think it should do well. Now on the 10th day, I think since we've been down there, everything should be positive from there.
Let me ask you, going back,
Yeah.
what were our preparations like? I mean, the night before, President Aquino called and had a nationwide address. Did we do the right things?
Warning-wise, I think perfect.
Yeah.
In terms of the impacts though, translating the warnings into impacts and exposure. When you say impacts, what will it mean? Like, to some people, they thought it's just the strong winds plus floods. So they missed out on the storm surge. But in my province, for example, as early as Saturday, I was already warned by Prisco Nilo that something might hit me. So I started to blog about it in Facebook. And I already told the members of the council that there's this thing and start preparing. So by Monday, I already asked Secretary Dinky Soliman for 15,000 bags of rice, which I need, the food I need to evacuate people ahead. And then on a Wednesday, we finally issued the order to evacuate. So for example, in Ginobatan, and Pulangi, we had 2 days evacuation, 2 days, 2 nights, right before Yolanda hit us. So if you use that standard, which may be like a gold standard in the Philippines, I think significantly inadequate. The preparations were significantly inadequate in terms of evacuation. Because you cannot do anything about the damages.
Right, right.
But the casualties, I think philosophically, I think the only viable goal is zero casualty, because you cannot leave, one life is just too much.
In terms of the actual crisis response, so by Saturday morning, we had the C-130s coming in, and from Friday afternoon, actually the typhoon hit Friday at 8:30 in the morning. Radio silence, there was nothing, no communications until Saturday morning. What should have happened in the crisis response that's there? What do you see? What were the good things? What were the bad things? What could have been improved?
Well, I don't know, but hindsight is always good, very good. But definitely the conclusion that the LGUs cannot take on their appropriate jobs, I think immediately the national government should have come in, bring in all the trucks, restore law and order, restored all the communications, since it can be reached by land.
Yes.
Through Matnog. And virtually, I mean, for example, my team has been coming back and forth to Leyte for 4 times already.
Right, right.
So in fact, I think we might be able to see some kind of corridor between Albay and Leyte at this point, because there's been so much traffic, relief traffic between Albay and Leyte.
Did the national government contact you for help for the areas that were not
Yes,
reachable?
yes. We usually get our orders from OCD. So immediately the following day, we sent Team Albay, and they were there. And we were first to pick up a corpse, because they just didn't have the heart to do it, or they didn't know what to do about, because there's a very specific course called Management of Dead and Missing Persons. It's a whole booklet, and we train some of our people there. And second, we were the first to provide water, because definitely the water is the most important thing. We were the first one to raise the flag in Leyte, and I think we were the first humanitarian team essentially there. So we responded, and it's a big team, 179 people, and we brought in all the necessary food. We don't want to be,
So what happened? What was the problem? I mean, it took until day 5 before aid really
Finally,
flowed out to people. Yeah.
Yun na nga, I think basically because there was no, if you compare it to our body,
Yes.
there was no blood circulatory system. And that means a lot of transportation. There were roadblocks, and there were, I think, rigidities in the supply, essentially in the ports. Lack of C-130s, lack of trucks. You see, as early as Monday, I had 37 trucks in Albay to do prepositioning as well as evacuation, whereas Maroas only had 8 on the 8th day. He had eight trucks to deliver food. But you see, Leyte is so accessible by land, and we could have immediately sent all the trucks there.
By land and by ship also. I didn't see that
Roro.
many ships coming in, di ba?
Kaya maraming entry points naman eh. Hindi naman siya parang Berlin eh. I didn't see a Berlin kind of operation there. I think there were just too many naman eh. And siguro where are we?
In terms of what could have been done better.
What could have been done
Yeah.
better, yes. Yeah.
The Roros coming
Hindi,
in. There were no ships coming in.
Kailangan inassume kagad yun.
Oo. Kahit sa Giwan,
Yung
di ba,
LGU.
may port sila doon,
Oo.
pero
Kailangan yung LGU, yung role namin
Yung
dapat trinabaho
national
kagad nila.
government.
Oo. In the meantime, tapos ni-revive din kagad. Wala naman, there were no dead vice mayors, there were
Yes.
no dead councilors. So that means essentially, they were all alive.
in terms of where we are now, you have a huge international response, and you still have parts. I mean, now it's gotten out. It's a little bit more systematic. It's much more systematic. What dangers do you see? What actions need to be taken?
I think I see more opportunities actually. First, I think we could do we could do better really with the distribution by organizing all the local cluster approach,
Yes.
which essentially will allow the foreigners to be part of the coordinations, because some of them will be overserved, some will be underserved,
Yes.
and the tendency is where the media is, they will be there. It's very normal.
Yes.
And secondly, I think we should have a national coordinating national coordinating council for the reconstruction, which will essentially do the disaster assessment and needs analysis, and so we can have the parameters. And then second, probably we could have local clusters as well, and then after that, I think we can have a donor pledging session. Because once you have the needs analysis and the recovery program, they are become financeable essentially. Easily, the Philippines, I think, can raise. To me, Haiti was able to raise $12 billion in 5 years,
Yes.
and for nothing. I mean, see, the people there are still 400,000 people in tents.
Yes.
I think with a better governance now in the Philippines, I think we could. I think there are incentives for donating in the Philippines, in mobilizing international generosity, especially those who don't want to pay up in Warsaw. I think will be paying here. So essentially, that gives them a chance.
For the reconstruction now, I mean,
Yes,
going a
for
little bit long term,
sorry.
what are the best practices in your mind? What would you want to keep in mind?
First,
How do you rebuild Leyte and Samar?
don't build what is destroyed, because that means the risk is there. So you're building back better elsewhere. And second is relocation. Do it. Huwag mo madaliin. Kailangan you need planning for that, and then you need geostrategic intervention, because this is a nice chance to build a new Leyte, a new Waray nation, or a new Tacloban city, a new city for Tacloban. And because there's so much resources coming in, then I think rehabilitation should essentially be development guided rehabilitation and reconstruction. So this is a chance, because the problem in generally is that you should develop and you bring in already disaster risk reduction. Unfortunately, there's no money for that. The money comes in only once there is a disaster. So now, the only time like Albay was able is during Reming, a lot of money came in, and we use it to modernize at the same time make development more disaster resilient and more climate resilient.
Yes. Last question.
Yes.
Lessons learned. I know it's still very early, but from you're watching this, what lessons can we learn?
You must have a heart. Conscience is not enough. You must have a heart. I think second, I think that pretty much. I think there's no heart for this thing. I mean, if every local government unit has the heart for disaster risk reduction, I think.
What do you mean when you say you have to have the heart?
Like me, I'm supposed to go to Warsaw on Saturday. I had to just stay and take on the job that's needed, provide leadership in the middle of the biggest risk that I ever confronted in my life. Then, and I have a lot of things in mind, but I don't know how to organize them. It's there. And second is do cluster approach. Third, trust the locals. And cash is the best form of relief. Trust them. They will not steal from their own. So in other words, you can give them the money for building. They can build their own houses once the location has been selected. That's what we do. We give them 100. We give them 70,000 for the materials, and they can put up their own houses.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Biglang nagsara yung utak ko.
We've been speaking with Albay Governor Joey Salceda. Thanks for joining us.